Ah yes, sometimes dreams really do come true, even if it takes 10 years for it to happen. In this video, we're gonna find out how bad will this first generation i7-980 will bottleneck the RTX 2080 Ti, and also will give you an idea how it will perform with the new upcoming RTX 3070. But before that, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down below, and thank you for watching. So before I get into this video, I'd like to ask everyone for a small favor. Please go ahead and hit the like button down below. It really helps to grow the channel, and I really appreciate it. Also, if you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification. That way you can stay tuned to my latest videos. Alrighty, so in this video we're going to find out how well this 10-year-old system performs in late 2020, and also how bad it will bottleneck the RTX 2080 Ti, which is on par with the upcoming RTX 3070. So first thing, I want to go over this build here, and it's very special to me as it took me many years to complete, as I was just sitting back and waiting for that right part. Really, there was no rush, and I wanted to just, this was my dream build basically. I wanted to have the X58 platform with one of the higher tier processors, which in this case I'm using the i7-980. That is a 6-core 12-thread processor, base frequency 3.33 GHz, max turbo frequency 3.6 GHz, and max TDP 130 watts, and the 32 nanometer technology. Now this is not the highest tier processor. There is a higher one than this, which is the 990X, and that is extremely expensive. I mean, I'm still seeing it on eBay for like 160, 180. That's just outrageous price for that, and it's just the frequency is just slightly higher. So I really got lucky on this processor. It only cost me 50 bucks, and that's what I was just sitting back and waiting for it to drop. There was one available at a really good price, and you know what, I took it, and I'm really happy with it. Now, majority of people out there with the X58 platforms, to save money, they would usually go for the Xeon X56 100 processors, because they are a lot cheaper and they do come with the 6 cores and 12 threads. But I wanted to really, you know, go with the i7, slightly more expensive tier, and the performance is really pretty much the same, and that could be debatable, but it really depends on the overclock. And for the motherboard, I'm using the Asus Sabertooth X58. It's a really good, strong motherboard. It's really holding strong, easy overclocker. Even has USB 3.0 in the back over there. I'm really surprised about that. I am also using a triple channel kit here, 12 gigs of DDR3 1600 megahertz. This is OCZ RAM with the nice gold finish on it. It looks really nice with this build. I might zoom in and show you a little closer how it looks. I don't know if you could see it right there, but it's got a little gold to it. And you know, I wish I had the 24 gig kit for the triple channel, but I don't, so we're gonna run with the 12 gigs. And you know, from my tests, the games are running really good with that, so I think that's enough for today's test. For the cooling, I really went all out, and I got this Noctua, you know, the D15. This thing is a monster. It's still very expensive. I think it still retails for like 100 bucks. I had this thing laying around. It was missing some bracket underneath, so I kind of like found some screws to make it work. That was also one part that I was missing for this build, and I really wanted to put it together. Also, I have two more Noctua fans on top of that. I have the exhaust Noctua fan, 120 millimeter, and also in the front of the case I have a 120 millimeter Noctua fan. So like I said, this was my dream build. It finally came out. I'm really happy with overall look. Some of the parts here are even older than 10 years. Now check this one out here. Now this case here, and you see that that's a a clear, see-through panel here, and it's not a small, it's like a full window here, full window panel on this case. Now this case originally came out in 2006, believe it or not, everybody. Yes, that's right, ultra aluminous case. Yeah, I looked it, and some of the first reviews out there were back from 2006, and this is a really nice looking case for 14 years old. It's very easy to work with. It's got a lot of features and extremely light. So easy to work with. Next is the power supply. Now this power supply is probably 12 years old, if not more. This is a Galaxy 1000-watt power supply, and it's semi-modular, and I'm surprised it's still holding its own for a system like this. Definitely want something strong like 1000-watt, because the RTX itself recommended about 750 watts. Plus, this is an older system that requires more power, so I think the Galaxy power supply here, that's 1000 watts, is more than efficient for this build here. Really no issues at all with it. I'm surprised. Next is the hard drives. Now I have a really old SSD drive. That's my main 240 gig. It's an OCZ. It's probably like 5 or 6 years old. And for the backup drive for the extra storage, we have a 1 terabyte Seagate, and that has a label of it of 2009. And yes, it makes that little crunchy noise once it's used, but it works fine. Just to show you that if you put a bunch of old parts together and mix it up, you could really get some good performance out of this. What else? Let's talk about the overclock on this thing. So what I was able to get is the 4.3 gigahertz on this processor, which is a full gig of its original frequency. I'm very happy with that. I wish I could go a little bit higher, but when it came to gaming, 4.3 was the most I could get. Before anything higher would crash the games, and the core volt on this is 1.35. It's working really good. I actually followed a tutorial on YouTube that I've seen with this motherboard, and it worked like a charm. Very happy. I try to go a little higher. It boots up. Some of the benchmarks come out, but when it comes to gaming at 4.4, it would crash. Oh, and also very important to note for this video, I have the hyperthread disabled, so we're running all the tests on 6 cores, and it seems like the performance when it comes to gaming is better with just 6 cores. And I tried it all different ways, so I'm gonna go with hyperthread disabled. So we're gonna run the benchmarks when it comes to games to only 6 cores, and that's plenty cores for today's modern games. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into some benchmarks, so stay tuned. So the first benchmark I'm going to show you is Cinebench R15, the single core performance. As you can see, I scored 131 on the single core, and of course it is overclocked to 4.3 gigahertz. Really not bad score at all. If this was at the stock clock of 3.3, we'd be at low 100s. So definitely some improvement here. So let's move on to the next benchmark. And now here we have the good old CPU Z, just to show you that we are at 4.3 gigahertz, multiplier 21, and bus speed 205, running really nice. And that's the current voltage here. It's not up to the maximum, which is 1.35. And let's take a look at the bench here. We're gonna just bench it against some of the newer processors, again, like something like this for instance, and just to see what it looks like on the single core. Again, no competition on the multi-core, not even close. And once again, I have the hyperthread off, so it's only 6 cores showing. Just wanted to show you the single core performance versus some of their newer processors like the AMD Ryzen 9 3950X, and here we have it. It's 27% less in single core performance, which in my opinion is really not that bad. Just to give you an idea really quick, if I put this again against an old FX chip right here, 8350 on the single core, and boom, you know, the FX 8350 came out after, you know, after this processor, and look at that, this thing is 60% stronger on the single core. Just to show you how far AMD came, and you know, really AMD is a good product, especially now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna just move into some gaming test benchmarks and find out that Bottleneck, if it's really worth still keeping this system for gaming in the 2020 or going even into 2021. So stay tuned for that. As usual, I'm going to start off with Battlefield 5. This is a great game to use to test out your newly built system. So let's take a look at the settings. We are on 1080p full screen, everything maxed out with VSync off and motion blur off as always, to really push this card to the limits and see what kind of frame rates we're gonna get. And once again, this i7-980 is overclocked to 4.3 gigahertz and with the hyper thread off. So we're running on 6 straight cores, and like I said before earlier in this video, that is going to be the best way to get the most performance out of this setup with this graphics card. And yes, we are using the RTX 2080 Ti along with 12 gigs of RAM, running at 1600 and change, about 1600 megahertz. And of course, we're gonna see a little bit of bottleneck compared to some of the new systems, but we are averaging well over 100 FPS. Really not bad. So, like I said, overall in this test that I had, really got good results. Of course, you're not going to expect to get the same performance with the newer generation Intels. That's just common sense. But what we're trying to determine here, are the games still playable, enjoyable? Is there enough FPS with this graphics card? You be the judge. I like this board. There's a lot of action going on. You've got a lot of characters at once. Alright, so let's jump into the 4K resolution to finish up this test. And once again, we are maxed out. Just want to show you again. On ultra settings, everything high, even on the bottom ones. And you're getting really good FPS. And that's going to be really your best bet, you know, with 4K when it comes to a game like this. You know, we're definitely averaging above 60 FPS on this game. And if you look at the other newer i7s or Ryzen processors with this card paired on 4K ultra settings, you are going to get very similar FPS. So of course, at a higher resolution, there isn't really much bottleneck at all. Just a few FPS difference compared to some of the newer generation processors. And you know, that's just the way it is. Things haven't really changed much. Oh yeah, that was a loading screen. Things haven't really changed much in my opinion. So if you invested a lot of money into a gaming computer like this 10 years ago, and all you do is pretty much maybe upgrade your power supply and upgrade your graphics card, and you know, you get everything done right, you're gonna get this kind of performance. So that's something really to think about. There's no issues at all. The game looks great on 4K, getting good FPS. Look at that, and an all action scene. Explosions, multiple characters everywhere. Alright, so let's move on to the next game. Now in the Assassin's Creed, you're definitely going to see some bottlenecking, especially on 1080p. 4K is really not bad at all, but I'm sure you're well aware that this game is pretty hard to run, but I'm still getting really good frame rates. So let's take a look at the settings. I'm going to start off with 1080p. And we are on the high settings. This seems to be the settings that a lot of people are using to test out the latest hardware.
Welcome back. Not going to get caught without armor twice today. Walking the road to Sami without armor is just asking for trouble. Guess this is the vineyard. Straight ahead.
Again, really not bad. There is no issues, there's no stuttering, nothing. And here, as you could see, we're going to be averaging around 50 FPS on 4K. That's pretty much to be expected with this graphics card. Previously on 1080p we're averaging around, you know, just about 80 FPS, but still this is very playable. Now again, we do have the hyper thread disabled, and I know you see the processor being used at 100% a lot of the times in certain areas, but I did test this out with the 12 threads and I am still getting better results with it disabled. That's just the way it is. Alright, let's move on to the next game. Yes, the good old Control. Really good game also to test out on your newly built system. This is not the easiest one to run. So let's take a look at the settings. 1080p full screen, and we're on the highest settings. Everything maxed out except motion blur, and of course we're not testing out the ray tracing option in this video. So let's take a look if we'll get enough FPS, if this game is playable with this really old system. And as you can see, it is running very nicely, very smooth. Just gonna run through just to show you that this game is very smooth, no stuttering, no issues.
Federal Bureau of Control. All these years I've been looking for them, and they were hiding in plain sight. Hello? Hey, excuse me.
There you are. We'll hear about the job. Janitor's assistant. Hold up.
Elevator that way. Got it.
Very good. I'm out. Janitor. You work for me. You can say I speak. No?
I've done enough night shift loaner jobs to know it makes us come off weird. Auntie the janitor is a friendly face in my book.
Better than somebody with no face at all. Think about it. No face.
The cell and the poster. I was 11 years old the first time I saw behind the poster. They told me I imagined it. I've been trying to pull it down ever since. Will you help? Did I lose you there for a moment? You know what's on my mind. My baby brother, Dylan. 17 years since the men of this bureau took him. Up the murder weapon? Really? Oh, look at this place. Where am I?
And now we are in 4K once again. Everything is maxed out.
The same gun. Okay, now I have to go.
Alright, so this is the last game I'm going to test out in this video, Gears 5. Very beautiful game. Let's take a look at the settings here. Starting off with 1080p, screen, and on everything on ultra except the motion blur is off. Now please everybody, don't forget to leave some comments down below. Any questions, let me know if you have a similar system. And do you think this thing is still playable in 2020?
Didn't expect there to still be bodies. Only a handful of us made it off as alive.
I'm also thinking about doing the i7-2600K review next. Just gotta put it together. We'll see how that runs.
Gotta cut through. Okay, let's go. Stay back. We're coming down. Guess who? Hey, send a pulse and let's see what we're dealing with. Ah, there they are. I'll take care of this. Okay, let's put him down. Cover. More drones. Hey, it's me! That's all of them. Bear, confirmed. Your burial site is active.
Shit. Okay, Condor's in the air. Let me know if you need reinforcements.
We get it handled for now. Delta out. Come on, we gotta find one of those silos. Assuming the swarm haven't ripped them all apart.
Hey, I think we can get down this way.
Alright everyone, if you stayed up all the way to the end, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Okay, these headaches.
I'm okay, alright? Let's just find a silo.
For the record, you don't seem okay.
I'll listen.
There's too many active hives. Everywhere we go, another burial site's hatched. All the more reason to